What we're going to do is we're going to just start out with a couple of very quick stories about how people are making a difference. An example that I want to give of what people are doing about this actually is next door in the state of Maine, where people connected with the Maine Citizens Trade Campaign looking at the potentially harmful impact of these international trade rules on their ability to regulate issues like the proper use of the state's water resources, created something that they call it was an act called the Maine Jobs, Trade and Democracy Act that creates the Maine Citizens Trade Policy Commission. The purpose of this is to assess and monitor the legal and economic impact of trade agreements on state and local laws, working conditions, and the business environment, to provide a mechanism for citizens and legislators to voice their concerns and recommendations, and to make policy recommendations designed to protect Maine's jobs, business environment, and laws from any negative impact of trade agreements. This now exists in part of the state government in Maine. The state government in Vermont is now considering starting something similar. I have at least one state senator in New Hampshire interested in creating something similar in New Hampshire. And what this group is ordered to do is to conduct public hearings around the state and to conduct an annual assessment of the impact of these international trade rules on the state's authority, and to make an annual report. And just one of the interesting effects of this is that they did conduct hearings on CAFTA, the U.S. Central America Dominican Republic trade agreement, and it was partly as a result of that that Maine's 2 Republican senators voted against CAFTA when it came up for ratification.
So, as a context to Atlantica, which we're going to end up talking about a bit later, you have to go back to NAFTA, which Arnie has just spoken about, and then this Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America. Now, how many are familiar with the SPP, as we call it? So not a lot of people. So we'll just do a quick run over that. And in March of 2005, the leaders of Canada, US, and Mexico met and signed this agreement. And basically the agreement has come out of the private sector, big business sector. In our country, it's the CCCE, the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, and in the US, it was the Council on Foreign Relations that was very much involved. So we've got driven by business, certain academics, certain diplomats, and some high-level government officials. These are the kinds of things that don't come before Parliament, they don't come before Congress. They get pushed along kind of under the radar screen of public scrutiny. And that's what's happening right now. And this agreement it's moving very, very quickly. It provides a framework to advance collaboration with the 3 countries in a number of areas, but security and prosperity is the overall framework. And then within security, you have all kinds of border arrangements, and then under the prosperity, we have the trade facilitation, transportation, and then right now we're seeing smart regs and harmonization of regulations is moving so fast that we can't even keep track of everything that's going on, and we desperately need to. One of the things that's really going to interest us here today is the transportation modes that they're working out right now to maintain this insane fossil fuel intensive global economic arrangement where China is manufacturing everything and shipping it to the rest of the world in mega container ships. So to keep that going, they're going to be reorienting megaports from Los Angeles down to Mexico and have a large corridor trucking this stuff northward and then fanning out through the US. So this economy, which is totally unsustainable, is in the works. In 2005, after they signed the agreement, they set in place 3 very senior government officials from each country. It's Condoleezza Rice and the Attorney General and Commerce Minister. What do we call your chief officials? We call them ministers. And in Canada, we've got the international trade and who else? Anyway, we've got 3 very senior officials. So these working groups, which are cross-border bureaucrats, basically, beavering away on these massive agenda. And they first reported in June of 2005. They were given 3 months to go away, these many working groups, and they came up with great big spreadsheets with goals and what they hoped to do and a few things they'd already accomplished. And sometimes signing memorandums of agreement and little mini agreements. And so this is what we're trying to expose right now and in Canada, so that people can see just what is going on. But as I say, it's a very hard road. And they just reported, again, the 3 chief officials of our countries just recently met, and they've come up with, see, they reported, the process is accelerating. And this is what some of the things they focused on just a few months ago in March 2006. And you'll see now, instead of Prime Minister Martin, we've got Prime Minister Stephen Harper, which we feel he's a bit of a Bush clone and seems to be parroting the same language, which is very, very worrisome, and it facilitates the secrecy that's going on with this. So they are working in areas of strengthening competitiveness, North American emergency management, energy security, and smart and secure borders. And in the competitiveness area, they set in motion this new national North American Competitiveness Council with big business leaders like Lockheed Martin and so on. And so this, again, this is very worrisome. They have a very particular agenda.